Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham steps up, grabs her, knocks her down, gets a flagrant 2 for this to end up calling.
Look at Sophie. She's waiting for it. She's waiting for it, fam. And then I see why Allen got kicked out. Allen went for the throw.
Sophie tries to wrap her up, and Sheldon gets to the floor, and all hell breaks loose.
They thought Caitlyn Clark would just take the hits and walk away, that she'd get fouled, shoved, eye gouged, and no one would do a thing.
Yeah, slam her to the floor, slam her through the floor. Y'all wanna play dirty? Sophie gonna hold it down.
I'm clapping Sophie Cunningham off the floor. We're clapping Sophie Cunningham off the floor right now. We're clapping her off the floor. She's getting high-fived off the floor right now.
JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlyn Clark. She swipes her in the eyeball.
This was all game, folks. All game. Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever were getting checked all game.
Sophie Cunningham gives a take foul, a very hard one. She straight up tackled JC Sheldon.
Game after game, Clark was targeted, and the league stayed silent. But this time, they messed with the wrong squad. With tensions boiling and the hits coming harder, one Fever player snapped. Not out of emotion, but out of loyalty. Sophie Cunningham saw her teammate getting dragged through another dirty game, and she said enough.
At the end of the game, JC Sheldon is going for a fast break layup, and Sophie Cunningham is running with her. And I remember in my head, like, it happened in a split second, and I said, oh.
Sophie Cunningham gives a take foul, a very hard one. She straight up tackled JC Sheldon. Don't get it twisted. That was not a hard foul. She tackled her. That was a dirty play, in my opinion. She did exactly what she wanted to do. Now, even though JC Sheldon, she leaned forward and she really got into Sophie's chest. And Sophie put her arms around her and drug her to the ground. Because Sophie didn't fall down. She threw JC Sheldon down.
In a moment that stunned the arena and ignited the entire fan base, Sophie didn't just step in, she took over. The hit she delivered wasn't just a foul, it was payback. And it sent a message the Connecticut Sun and the whole WNBA won't ever forget.
Sophie Cunningham had enough. Oh yeah. Sophie Cunningham had enough. Folks, shout out to Sophie Cunningham. We wanted somebody like this that said, I'm tired of this. I'm trying to step up. It's time to step up. We're not going to get punked anymore. We're not going to get pushed around anymore. We're not going to get treated like a little sister anymore, like a little brother anymore. We are going to start being the ones that say, you know what? We're not going to start the fight.
The first half of the game felt like deja vu. Caitlyn Clark was once again in the crosshairs, getting grabbed, pushed, and hit without a single whistle blowing in her favor.
Caitlyn Clark and JC Sheldon, of all people, I feel like this is the rivalry. These are two players who do not seem to like one another at all. And this goes all the way back to college. And when Iowa was going up against Ohio State, Caitlyn Clark is 12-0 against JC Sheldon. And what we saw in this Connecticut Sun game was JC Sheldon picking Caitlyn Clark up full court. It was back to rookie year defensive strategies against Caitlyn Clark. Guarding her full court, face guarding her, blitzing her on every single screen, double teaming her. Like, that was the Connecticut Sun defensive strategy for Caitlyn Clark, and JC Sheldon was in her face the entire time.
JC Sheldon was glued to her from the opening tip, swiping at her arms, shoving through screens, and then came the moment that pushed everything too far. A blatant swipe to Clark's face, straight to the eyeball. The crowd gasped. Clark, clearly in pain, nudged Sheldon off to get space, but instead of order being restored, the chaos only escalated.
JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlyn Clark. She swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlyn Clark nudges her off because JC stays in her face. And then Tina Charles runs over and is kind of wagging her finger in Caitlyn Clark's face. And then Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere.
As Clark tried to compose herself, Tina Charles stormed over, wagging her finger in Clark's face. Seconds later, Marina Mabrey came flying in with a hip check that knocked Caitlyn straight to the hardwood. And still, no ejection, no warning, not even a flagrant. Just silence.
JC Sheldon, you out there doing all that hacking, up 1 for 4, 0 for 3. You was minus 22, 2 points. Like, stop it. Stop it. Y'all stink. and you guys are hating on Caitlyn Clark. Y'all looking for attention in all the wrong places, man. Let your skills and your game do. See, that's the problem. Y'all not good enough.
The Fever bench was stunned. The fans were livid. And Clark, she stood there, absorbing it all, left to defend herself once again. It was obvious. This wasn't just physical play. It was personal. You could feel the frustration bubbling under the surface.
Sophie Cunningham, JC Sheldon going up for a layup, puts her head down like a running back, exploding through the hole. Sophie Cunningham wraps her up, tosses her little ass to the ground, says, "What's good?" And then Lindsay Allen goes after her along with JC Sheldon and Sophie Cunningham. Look at Sophie Cunningham, taking it 2-on-1. Sophie Cunningham going 2-on-1 underneath the basket. Sophie Cunningham, salute.
JC Sheldon, my goodness, dog. My goodness. Now, honestly, I felt like Sophie might have wanted a piece of JC after the Caitlyn Clark and JC kind of scuffle going on, right? Then this happened, okay? The fast break, you see Sheldon taking it. After getting a steal, Sophie wraps her arms around her. Now, this is normal, okay?
Sheldon wasn't just defending Clark. She was targeting her, pulling straight from the Kennedy Carter playbook. The refs let it slide. The league let it slide. But Sophie Cunningham, she was watching closely, studying, waiting.
Look at Sophie. She's waiting for it. She's waiting for it, fam. And then I see why Allen got kicked out. Allen went for the throat. Allen went for Sophie's throat. Literally have her hand on her neck right there. Oh my goodness. But she's focused on Sheldon. So she reaches for Sheldon, grabs the back of her head. Is Sophie handling both of them? Oh my goodness. It looked like Sophie might have one hand on Allen, the other hand holding on to Sheldon's hair or the back of her head. Oh my goodness.
And when the time came, she was going to respond, not with words, but with impact. Something had snapped, and revenge was no longer a thought. It was a mission.
But the only thing everybody want to talk about is the fight, right? Now, this wasn't just the pushing and shoving thing. In my opinion, this was as close as you can get to a fight without somebody throwing some blows. Now, first, before we get into some of the video footage, let's hear Stephanie White and her thoughts on what happened.
It was midway through the second half when the entire game flipped, and Sophie Cunningham made sure everyone knew it. The Connecticut Sun thought they could keep getting away with the cheap shots, but Sophie had seen enough. What began as a physical contest had turned into something else entirely. Targeting, bullying, and an absolute failure from the officiating crew to take control.
I feel like Sophie Cunningham was the only one who would have done something back if she was on the floor. Sophie Cunningham got her. Sophie Cunningham got her. And I mean this when I say this. This would have been a flagrant 2, except for the fact that they allowed Marina Mabrey did what she did. This possibly should be a flagrant 2. She got her around the neck. And then JC Sheldon gets up. And then Sophie immediately goes at JC Sheldon, grabs her.
Sophie Cunningham steps up, grabs her, knocks her down, gets a flagrant 2 for this, they end up calling. Sophie takes a step back, gathers herself. JC Sheldon kind of gets up, and another teammate, I don't recall the young lady's name, tried to get in Sophie's face. Sophie fights him back. They're running each other, and they start choking each other. And, you know, Cunningham's kind of in control, it seemingly, because Sheldon's head is getting, like, pushed down.
But Sophie, she was ready to restore the balance herself. As JC Sheldon went flying down the court on a fast break after a steal, it looked like an easy bucket for the Sun. She was sprinting with her head down, full speed, thinking she had a clear path. But waiting for her, like a freight train on the tracks, was Sophie Cunningham. She timed her move perfectly, stepped into Sheldon's path, and without hesitation, wrapped her up and slammed her to the floor.
We got JC Sheldon right here. She's going to give Caitlyn Clark the Dejanay Carrington eye gouge. And then Marina Mabrey's going to come in like some thug off the street and pull a Kennedy Carter on Caitlyn Clark. Let's watch
Caitlyn
this.
Clark is trying to create some.
I'm gonna turn this down. There's the eye gouge. Okay, and there's Mayberry right there with the hip check, the shove. That's the eye gouge, and then right there. Good God Almighty!
The entire arena erupted. Fans stood in shock. Commentators screamed. The referees froze. This wasn't just a foul. This was Sophie making it loud and clear.
I've never seen this. The commentators are literally saying the refereeing is bad for basketball. I've never heard anything like this before. I've never seen anything like this before.
You mess with Caitlyn Clark, you answer to me. The chaos that followed was instant. J.C. Sheldon popped up ready to retaliate. Lindsay Allen charged in from the wing like she wanted to throw hands. But Sophie didn't back down, not for a second. With one arm on Allen and the other on Sheldon, she held both of them off at the same time.
Sophie Cunningham doesn't have to try take one for the team. Sophie doesn't have to take one for the team. Sophie doesn't have to feel like she needs to get revenge on J.C. Sheldon. Sophie doesn't have to be an enforcer if the referees just ejected J.C. Sheldon when they should have ejected her. It is not the standard that was set. And by the way, if the Marina Mabrey one was an ejection, that's an ejection. That's ejection. I actually don't even mind. But the referees can't now say that's an ejection when that is less than the Marina Mabrey one.
Like a true enforcer. It wasn't panic. It was control. She wasn't flailing. She was focused, calm, and making a point the whole league could understand without needing translation. What made this moment even more powerful was what led up to it. Caitlyn Clark had taken multiple hits, an eye gouge, a blindside hip check from Marina Mabrey, and all of it with no consequences, no ejections, no flagrant calls. The officials looked the other way again and again, as if Clark's pain wasn't valid, as if her stardom made her a target instead of a protected player. And then Sophie did what nobody else had the guts to do.
Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham steps up, grabs her, knocks her down, gets a flagrant 2 for this, they end up calling. Sophie takes a step back, gathers herself. J.C. Sheldon kind of gets up, and another teammate, I don't recall the young lady's name, tried to get in Sophie's face. Sophie fights him back. They're running each other, and they start choking each other. And, Cunningham's kind of in control, it seemingly, because Sheldon's head is getting, pushed down.
I feel like Sophie Cunningham was the only one who would have done something back if she was on the floor. Sophie Cunningham got her. And I mean this when I say this. This would have been a flagrant 2, except for the fact that they allowed Marina Mabrey did what she did. This possibly should be a flagrant 2. She got her around the neck. And then J.C. Sheldon gets up, and then Sophie immediately goes at J.C. Sheldon, grabs her.
She stood up in the middle of a storm and said, "Enough." That hit from Sophie wasn't just retaliation. It was justice, a statement, a physical demand for respect, not just for Caitlyn Clark, but for every Fever player who's been shoved around like they don't belong. And when Sheldon hit the floor, oh, they felt that. The crowd wasn't silent anymore. They were roaring. Fever teammates high-fived Sophie as she walked to the bench.
Salute. Salute. Sophie Cunningham did her jail son. I can't let you get close, Vanderlei. I can't let you get close. Oh, I love to see it. I love to see it. Again, folks, there comes a time where you got to stand up for yourself. There comes a time when you get bullied and you get bullied and you get bullied and your mom's like, no, just walk away. Just leave it alone. Ignore it. They'll eventually let you. But the bullies don't let you go. The bullies don't leave you alone. The bullies just see that as more weakness, so they continue to bully. They continue to bully. They continue to bully. And then eventually, you need somebody, or you need a moment where you're willing to step up and say, bump all this.
And when the refs handed out the flagrant 2, it didn't feel like a punishment. It felt like a salute. Cunningham didn't just foul J.C. Sheldon. She checked the entire Connecticut Sun roster. She reminded them and the entire WNBA that Indiana was done playing the victim. Done being the team people could push around. From now on, there would be consequences.
And Sheldon comes up with the steal.
Yeah, slam her to the floor. Slam her through the floor. Y'all want to play dirty? Sophie gonna hold it down. Sophie is going to hold it down. Stephanie White, you make sure Sophie's in the game every time Caitlyn's in now, just in case anything pop off, she there ready to go.
And Sophie Cunningham was the one to deliver them. With under a minute left on the clock, the energy inside the arena was unlike anything seen all season. Caitlyn Clark had dropped 20 points, absorbing foul after foul, carrying herself with poise as the chaos unfolded around her. But while she kept her composure, Sophie Cunningham made sure the Connecticut Sun felt every ounce of payback they deserved. J.C. Sheldon, once again charging the lane like a running back, thought she could seal the game with one last highlight.
This is a way, in Sophie Cunningham's case, someone stepping up for Caitlyn Clark almost like never before, immediately targeting the person that was targeting them. And I feel like J.C. Sheldon was clearly targeting Caitlyn Clark most of this game.
But she didn't see Sophie waiting. In one swift, fearless motion, Cunningham stepped up, wrapped her arms around Sheldon, and threw her to the hardwood with authority. The crowd gasped, then erupted. It wasn't just a foul, it was a thunderous message. Touch Caitlyn Clark again, and this is what you get. As Sheldon scrambled to her feet, ready to retaliate, Lindsay Allen rushed in to back her up. What happened next? Cunningham, standing her ground, took them both on, 2-on-1.
Sophie Cunningham is going back to the locker room, and I'm wondering, I don't know if she just got kicked out, but if they kicked her out and they did not kick Marina Mabry out, then holy shit, because that's the next thing we got to get to. Mabry, for that incident, that Kennedy Carter vicious slam to the ground she just had on Caitlyn Clark, they did not throw her out of this game.
One arm held back Sheldon, the other pushed Allen away from her neck as Allen literally tried to choke her. But Sophie didn't flinch. She didn't back up. She stood there locked in, handling the chaos like a seasoned warrior. It wasn't just brute strength. It was calculated protection. It was leadership. Fans in the stands were on their feet. Her teammates were roaring. The referees, who had lost control long ago, finally handed out the flagrant 2.
Yo, then Sophie just holding her like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Oh my goodness, fam. I mean, literally, just holding her and talking to her. Just giving her a good talking. Just giving her a good talking, man. Oh my goodness. Now, honestly, I think this is a rivalry, man.
Cunningham was ejected, but she didn't walk off defeated. No, she was clapped off the court like a hero, high-fived, saluted. The crowd knew what they had just witnessed, because what Sophie did wasn't just for show. It wasn't just about that moment. It was about everything that had built up to it. The repeated fouls on Caitlyn, the missed calls, the disrespect. Game after game, Clark was left to fight battles alone, while the league turned a blind eye.
Finally, we have somebody. There is some type of proof with this team that says, all right.
Because they're going to have to deal out, fines. There may be suspensions that come from this game, which kind of sucks if Sophie ends up suspended because they need her right now.
I'm clapping Sophie Cunningham off the floor.
But not this time. Sophie Cunningham sent a warning the entire WNBA heard loud and clear. She didn't care about the flagrant, the ejection, or what the league office might say afterward. She cared about her teammate. She cared about her team's pride. And she made it known, if the referees won't step in, she will. This wasn't just a hit. This was a turning point. One that says the Indiana Fever are done being pushed around. And the Connecticut Sun, they'll regret underestimating the fire Sophie Cunningham just unleashed. Sophie Cunningham didn't just make a play. She made a statement that echoed far beyond the final buzzer.
Payback for what was happening the entire game. But she did it in a way that she wasn't going to injure JC. She was just making it known, like, if the refs aren't going to handle it, I will handle it.
So if not for nothing, she ended up with 20 points. She had a really good game. But you know what? I credit J.C. Sheldon for showing how to guard her.
Shout out to you for holding it down. Shout out to Sophie Cunningham. We need to be showering her with praise. Hit her on all her social medias. Tell her how much we love her.
Sophie, I think she was waiting on her, man. I think she wanted a piece of her so she can calm her down, man. And honestly, holding her there, just, hey, what you gonna do, man?
I'm clapping Sophie Cunningham off the floor.
In a league where Caitlyn Clark has been targeted, shoved, and disrespected without consequence, Sophie stepped up and drew the line. Her hit wasn't reckless, it was righteous. It was the kind of response fans have been begging to see. And when the refs refused to protect one of the league's biggest stars, Sophie did it herself, with force, with fire, and with no regrets. As she walked off the court, high-fived and clapped out by her teammates, it wasn't just about the score. It was about sending a message that the Indiana Fever aren't here to be pushed around. Not anymore. And the next time someone thinks about going after Caitlyn Clark, they'll have to remember exactly what happened when Sophie Cunningham said, "Not today." This wasn't just revenge. It was a reckoning. And the WNBA, it'll never be the same.